Hi Eric and the rest of you out there that are interested in extracting the center line of this type of geometry. Um, we have a difficult situation here as we do not have the original body with its parameters, which would make this a whole lot easier. Hence there are different kind of ways of actually extracting the center line here. But both of them or all of them are based on we're actually going to have to reverse engineer pieces of this. Firstly, we need to assess the geometry, obviously, and we just simply select the general views here. If we take a top view, we can see that, well, it's nice and symmetric around the x-axis here, or x-plane. We can also see that we have a quite nice shape on the YZ plane here. So we have two really good general directions here, or base views that we could use. It might be sufficient. It all depends on what your requirements are. But I will generally go the easy way and try to do it as simple as possible. So bear with me for a while and we'll see where we end up. So we have already established that this is a symmetrical part, so we will use only half of it for half of the work, kind of, because we can mirror one side. So we're going to use the general directions of these, and we see that we have a good center line because there's a cylindrical shape at the top. We have kind of an oval shape down here, and we're going to have to find the center of that, obviously. We're going to use projected curves here. Could probably just create some spline through the center, identifying the center here. Might be difficult to control it though, so I will go with the two general directions that I showed you earlier and create geometry from there. So we would try to create something from the general direction here, through here, up and through here. We do that by establishing the center, and we have one curve that we know that we can use because that will be the center. We could also say that it's going to be aligned with the Z direction. We know that it's probably going to be, let's say, linear to that general direction, and then it's going to start curving off. So we'll be happy with that for now. We need to create something similar down here, but we will do that in the same plane up here as this curve. So we need some reference data to do that, and there are obviously various ways you can do it. I will simply just project these curves, let's say, to the center plane, so we get something to work with. I'm going to use a line because I know that that is the spline that I have there. So from the end point there to the end point of those splines there, actually don't need that anymore. And I'm going to create a line from the midpoint here in the general Y direction over here. We could use the reference there just for more clear purpose. And we're just simply going to bridge those curves. So we create a bridge from down here to up here. And then it's in this case, obviously, it's a matter of eyeballing where you would like the center. So if we tension this a little bit more, yeah, that might be a bit better. It's all up to your preferences here and how accurate you think that this needs to be. In my case, I will accept that, and then we will do the same from the top view. So we will have a line in the Y direction, let's say, or sorry, X direction, that we will bridge with something that comes from this geometry down here. So we will project that as well. We project these curves onto this plane and say, okay, And we know that these are splines, so I can't use them directly. I will have to make a line out of them. I do that simply by placing a curve, or sorry, a line on top. And then I use the general direction of Y in this case. Let's say out there. And then it's just a matter of bridging these together again. So we bridge that with that, and we get something there. And we say that we want the general direction up here. And again, you have to decide what tension will be good for your purposes. I say, let's say one on that and one on that. And then you should get like a nice smooth in the center kind of curve there. So we accept that. And once we have these two curves in these two planes, we could simply use the combined curve projection. So we take these two curves and we say that, hey, we want them to be one on top of the geometry, or inside the geometry that we have here. And we say preview, and we get something that looks like this. We say okay to that because that looks pretty good. We can choose to not show all the data we have in there, so we say, but we need some smooth transition up here. Well, again, why not use bridge? We say we go from here, we start up here somewhere, and we go down to, let's say, here somewhere. Well, it's all up to your preferences how accurate this needs to be. So we say okay to that, and there we have our center curve pretty much. But we will tidy it up a bit, and we will use the composite curve here. And we do all of it. We say okay, and there we have a center curve. As this has actually a mirrored side as well, we will do some mirror geometry here. So we say we mirror that feature through the center plane there. And there we have our center curve. Pretty easy if this would be okay. In my preference, this would be okay. This would be perfectly fine. Obviously, you could do it in various different ways, depending on how accurate you need this to be. You could do that kind of projection curve in a different way by using thickened sheets as well. So let's start this over and see if we can do that as well. So we start from the base where we originally had our view, and we would do it a little bit differently. So and it all depends on what kind of input you have, obviously. In this case, I will split it in half as well. I like to save work, so I will only do half of it when I can. There we go. And we will use those general directions, or at least one of them. And we say that we will extract some curves, and we will do curves in the form of shadow curves, and we will obviously use a general direction and the input body, obviously. Okay, there we go. So we have the input body there, and obviously these curves are of no use to us, so we need to project those curves onto, let's do feature curves here, onto the plane we have here. Don't worry about the curves, we will tidy them up as well. And let's do that directly. So we say that these curves, obviously can tidy them up and use them as you like. I generally, shouldn't say generally, but I sometimes like to rebuild stuff just to simplify it. In this case, I need something that is simplified accordingly, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to do the same here on the opposite side. I'm not going to take into consideration a little bump down there. So, but I do want the G1 tangency there. That will be fine for me. And we say okay to that. So I use that projection as reference. We can use line to join them together. We do that in both ends. There we go. And we're going to use an extrude. There we go. Okay. So mid surface on this, we get us the surface that would be the mid surface in this projected view, if you like. And we say that I want that side and I want that side. We say okay to that. We hide the extrude and we see, yeah, we got the center curve there. So I'm going to use this as a support to create where the intersection is going to be with the next thicken that are mid surface that I'm going to create. So we say thicken to that, just a little bit to each side. We can hide that for now. Oops, we can hide that for now as we do not need that temporarily at least. And we say that, well, actually we do that in the feature. We're going to intersect those two guys because I'm only interested in the intersect result there. Okay. So from this, we're going to create a mid-surface, but hey, creating that mid-surface up there will end up here somewhere. It will not be centered in the larger cylindrical shape up here. So we need to move this face to out here somewhere. Now you can do it directly on this geometry here. However, I like the basic shape of that. We can do it after that. So I will do it from this. So we say home and we're going to pull that face using synchronous modeling. We're going to pull that. And if you analyze the circle up here, it's approximately 25.5. So that's the value we're going to use. We say okay to that. We have our thicken. And now if I create a blend here, let's say there, we're going to keep that at 25.5. We add that there. And now if I create a mid surface between these two, that should end up in the middle up here. Now, as the exterior surfaces here, the outer surfaces here are compound surfaces, somewhat freeform shaped. This might be a little bit difficult for the system to generate the center here. So we can give it a shot to start with. Go back to surface and we do a mid surface. We say that guy and we say that guy and that guy. And let's see what the system creates for us. Okay, so we see that we have a little bit of an issue here. Let's hide that thicken for now. We see that, well, that's not at all lining up in the center where we want it. So that would be the compound surfaces that is causing those issues. So let's make this a little bit more simpler by simply just deleting the faces that is causing the issues, and we simplify them. You could do it in different kinds of way. I'm going to use, in my case, fill surface because it's very quick to create these patches, if you like. Cancel. And then again, the face pairs, mid surface and the two sides. And let's see where we end up this time. Bam. Looks like we have a result coming up where we want it to be. So we just created a mid-surface before. Obviously, we create an intersection curve between these two. And that would be our center line. And so we can hide these two guys here, keep that. We don't need those anymore. We need the reference. and that would be a center curve. This would be a little bit more precise than the one we created earlier. And obviously, if you need, you can always mirror that so we can see it on the other side as well. There we go. So this, my friends, concludes the two various ways that I would look at this. It is a difficult shape. It is what it is. This might be a little bit more accurate, but still there will be approximations. Summarizing, I would probably go with the first option here. I think that will be sufficient for whatever your downstream purposes are. Okay, so this concludes this small demonstration. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for your time. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.